Hi everyone, this is lesson 4 of the fraction series. But before I do that, I wanted to answer a couple of questions that I have gotten. One was why I'm sitting in the chair instead of standing up. And the answer to that is in August, I hurt my knee. I was walking the dog and I stepped off the sidewalk and just hurt my knee. And I went to the doctor and all that, and they have told me that they can't fix it, that it's going to have to be replaced. Well, like I said, I did that in August, and my daughter had major back surgery in September, and I made the decision not to have the surgery so that I could be available to her if I needed to be. And after that, I wanted to have the surgery at the clinic where my doctor is. And so I had to lose weight to do that. And that's what I was in the process of doing and still really in the process of doing when all the virus stuff happened. And so now they're not doing surgeries at all. So I'm just kind of waiting now. But it's very hard for me to walk and stand. So I decided to do this in a chair. So that's the reason I'm in the chair, sitting in the chair. Then the other question was, am I still a teacher? And no, I'm retired. I'm a retired teacher. And I taught 4th and 5th grade math, and I also taught 2nd grade. And I think that was all the questions, so I just wanted to answer those real quick. Now, this lesson I've decided to add after lesson 3. I thought about that a lot of the students might not know the divisibility rules. And so I kind of decided to put this lesson in. A lot of teachers aren't really teaching this as much as we used to teach it. And so I think it's very important to know these rules. So I'm going to try to do something a little different. Instead of writing everything on the board, all the rules on the board, I'm going to try and put in pictures of the rules so that you can pause the video and write the rules in your notebook. And then when you start the video again, I'll explain the rule. And then I'll put another picture of the next rule, pause the video, write it down, start it again, and I'll explain the rule. So we're going to have a lot of starting and stopping on this video, but I think it's going to be the best way to do it because there are 9 rules that you have to learn how to do. But if you will learn them, it will truly help you be able to do a lot of the math that we're going to do from this point on. Okay, so like I said, this is called the divisibility rules, and each rule is going to have the number that we're seeing if it can go into a bigger number, and then I'll explain it, okay? So rule number 2, pause the video. Okay, so number 2 is, it says, if the larger number is an even number, then 2 will go into it. Now, if you remember, if you don't remember, maybe that's what I should say, an even number always ends in 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0. So if your number, if the larger number ends in either 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0, then it is an even number, and that means 2 will go into it. Okay? Now, pause the video for rule number 3. Okay, rule number 3 says that if the digits in the larger number added together and that sum is divisible by 3. Okay, so let's just look at a number. I haven't written numbers down, and I probably should have. So let's look at the number 6,403. No, 2. Sorry, 2. Okay? So let's look at that number. Now, if we add those digits together, we get 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 2 more is 12. So our sum is 12. Now, 3 will go into 12, so that means 3 can go into the bigger number. So let's check that and make sure. So 3 will go into 6 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. When we subtract, we get a 0. Bring down the next number. 3 will go into 4 1 time. 1 times 3 is 3. When you subtract, you get a 1. Bring down the next number. 3 will go into 12 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. So yes, it will go into it. Because remember, it means, divisibility means that it can go into the bigger number evenly. So you have to come up with a 0 at the end. Okay? So let's try another one for 3. Like I said, I'm making numbers up. So let's say 7,341. I think that's right. So when we add the digits together, we get 7 times 3 is 10, plus 4 is 14, plus 1 more is 15. Okay? Now, 3 will go into 15 5 times, so we know that it will go into it. So let's check and make sure. Okay? So 3 will go into 7 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. When we subtract, we get a 1. Bring down the 3. 3 will go into 13 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. When we subtract, we get a 1. Bring down the 4. 3 will go into 14 4 times again, 12. When we subtract, we get a 2. Bring down the 1. And 3 will go into 21 7 times. And that comes out to 0. So if the digits added together and the sum is divisible by 3, then 3 will go into the bigger number. Okay? Now, pause the video for rule number 4. Okay, rule number 4 says that if the last 2 digits of the bigger number are divisible by 4. Okay, now at first, this was one of those that I always was skeptical of. But let's say you have a number, 9,640. Okay, now it says that you have to look at the last 2 digits. Okay, so will 4 go into 40? Yes, we know that's correct. So let's see if it'll go into the bigger number. Okay, so 4 will go into 9 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. When we subtract, we get a 1. Bring down the next number. 4 will go into 16 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. When we subtract, we get a 0. Bring down the 4. 4 go into 4 1 time. We get a 0. Bring down the other 0. We have to put a 0 there. So 4 is divisible by that number. Let's try another one that's maybe a little, I don't know. I'm trying to just think of numbers. Okay, let's look at that one. The last 2 digits are 24. 4 will go into 24 6 times, so let's see if it'll go into the bigger number. I might have to come up a little bit. In fact, why don't I just use the number I've written up here? So we're going to divide by 4. 4 won't go into 1, but it will go into 10 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. When we subtract, we get a 2. Bring down the 7. 4 will go into 27 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24. When we subtract here, we get a 3, bring down the 2. 4 going to 32 8 times. Excuse me. 8 times 4 is 32. When we subtract, we get a 0. Bring down the 4. 4 going to 4 1 time. So again, it's divisible. So remember, that rule is a little different. And like I said, I was always skeptical of that rule for some reason. But if the last 2 digits are divisible by 4, then 4 will go into the entire number. Okay? Rule number 5. So pause the video. Rule number 5 says that if the larger number ends in the digit 5 or 0. Now, most of you probably know this, that any number that ends in 5 or 0, any number that ends in 5 or 0 is divisible by 5. So let's check it. It'll go into it 1 time. We'll subtract, bring down the next number. It'll go into it 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. Subtract 1, bring down the next number. It'll go into 12 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. Subtract, we get a 2, 25. Go into there 5 times. Okay? Same with a 0. If it ends with either 5 or 0, then it's divisible by 5. Okay? Let's look at the rule for number 6. So pause the video. Okay, the rule for number 6 says that if the larger number is divisible by 2 and 3. So we would have to do things that we know are divisible by 2 and 3. So let me see if I can figure one out. We're going to say 12,600 and 3. Yeah, okay. Nope, that's not going to be right. Because it's not an even number, so 2 won't go into it. So I have to rethink. So let's say 7. I don't know if I've got this right yet. So, okay, let's see if that'll do. Yeah, okay. So it is an even number, so we know 2 will go into it. When we add the numbers, we get 3 plus 7 is 10 plus 2 is 12. So we know that 3 will go into it because 3 are going to 12, okay? So now let's see if 6 will go into it. So it won't go into 1, but it will go into 12. 2 times 6 is 12. When we subtract, we get a 0. Bring down the 7. 6 are going to 7 1 time. When we subtract, we get a 1. Bring down the 0. 6 will go into 10 1 time. When we subtract, we get a 4. Bring down the 2. And 6 will go into 42 7 times. So that one works also. But you do have to make sure that it will go into 2 and 3. And then it will go, we know that 6 will go into it, okay? So on rule number 7, pause the video. Okay, number 7 that I gave you says that you either have to do long division or you have to learn the trick, okay? And so I'm going to also give you a picture of what they're considering the trick, which I don't think is a very good trick. So pause the video one more time if you want to write this down. Okay, this is the trick they're talking about, and to me it seems like too much work. But it says if the last digit of the larger number is doubled and then subtracted from the rest of the number, and the number that you get after you subtract is either 0 or divisible by 7. Now, in my opinion, this isn't a very good rule because it's just so much work. And if it's a really big number, it's not going to help you at all. But if you want to learn how to do it, I'll do it real quick. Okay, and I did write a couple of these down because these are a little harder. Okay, so we're looking at the number 294. That's our number. And it says if you take the last digit, which is 4, and you double it, so you're going to get an 8, and then you subtract this 8 by the rest of the number. So the rest of the number is 29. So 29 minus 8 gives you 21. And 7 is divisible. 21 is divisible by 7. So that means that 7 will go into this number. So I'll do it right here because it's not very big. We're going to divide by 7. 7 won't go into 2, but it will go into 29 4 times. 4 times 7 is 28. When we subtract, we get a 1, bring down the 4, and it will go into it 2 times. Okay, so it does work, but it's a lot of work to try to figure it out. So let me show you one more. 693. Okay, so we're going to take the last digit, which is 3, and double it. So we get 6. And then we take the rest of the number, which is 69, and we subtract the 6. So we get 63. And we know that 7 will go into 63 9 times. So it is divisible. So let's check the whole number. Okay, so it's going to go into it 9 times, which is 63. Oh, okay. And then we subtract, and we get a 63, so it's going to be 9 again. Okay, so it's a trick. They call it a trick or a rule. But it's just a lot of work, and if you have a really large number, it's really not going to help you because the number's still going to be so big after you subtract. So for the most part, we usually just use log division. You just divide 7 into it to see if it's divisible. Okay? Number 8. Pause the video for the rule for number 8. Okay, number 8 says that if the last 3 digits form a number which is divisible by 8, excuse me. So we have 9,200 and let's say 68. No, not 68. Not 68, 48. I'm thinking 48, not 68. 48. Sorry. Okay, so the last 2 digits are 48. 8 will go into 48 6 times. So let's make sure that the whole thing is divisible by 8. So 8 will go into 9 1 time. When we subtract, we get a 1. And we bring down the 2. 8 will go into 12 1 time. And we get a 4. Bring down the 4. And it'll go into it 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. We get a 4, bring down the 8. And then 8 will go into 48 6 times. Okay? So the rule for number 8, you just have to look at the last 2 digits. And if 8 will go into the last 2 digits, then 8 is divisible to the whole number. Okay, number 9. Pause the video. Okay, the rule for number 9 is kind of the same as number 3. When you add the digits together, the sum, if the sum is divisible by 9, then 9 will go into the whole number. So it's not divisible by 3, it's divisible by 9 this time. So let's do, okay, now I'm going to look at that. Let me add that one more time. So we have that should be correct. That's a pretty big number, so let's see if we got it right. Now, when I'm adding, I get 8 plus 6 is 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then 19 plus 4 is 24. And I've already messed up, haven't I? 9 doesn't go into 24, I'm thinking of 8. So let's do 20, okay, so we got 12, 14, 15, 16, okay, when we add those together, we get 18. Okay, that should be a little better, shouldn't it? Because 9 will go into 18. So let's see if 9 will go into the whole number. Okay, it won't go into 8, so we're going to have to go 86. So that is, okay, my head's hurting. 8 times 9 is 72, 81. Oh, so it'll go into it 81 times. When we subtract, we get a 5. 9 will go into 52 5 times, 45. When we subtract, we get 7. Bring down the 0. Make sure I'm right. Yeah. Okay. 9 will go into 70 7 times. 7 times 9 is 63. When we subtract, we get a 7. Bring down the 2. And 9 will go into 72 8 times. And 8 times 9 is 72. Oh, I made that number way too big, didn't I? But it's the same as the rule for number 3, except when you add the digits, it has to be divisible by 9. Okay? Okay, the last one, number 10, pause the video. Okay? The rule for number 10 is very simple. If the number ends in 0, then it's always divisible by 10, no matter what the number is. So if we have 6,470 divided by 10, and 10 will go into here 6 times, which would be 60. It'll go into here 4 times, which would be 40, and 7 times, which is 7. And if you notice, this is one of those shortcuts. When you're dividing by 10, you just take the 0 off. That's just a little shortcut. But the divisibility rule for 10 says that if it ends in 0, then it's divisible by 10. Okay? So that is the divisibility rules. That was lesson 4. And so I will do lesson 5, hopefully tomorrow. And so I'll see you there. Bye.